Hi, this is Erin from BlossyB. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to create some beautiful resin pieces featuring the colour purple and butterflies. This is part of a Lupus Awareness international crafting collaboration organised by Julia from Julia's Crafting Chaos and June from June's House of Crafts. It's a privilege to help share information about lupus during Lupus Awareness Month in the hope that we can turn awareness into action. I have this sweet little 3-piece silicone mould set that I purchased recently from TEMU, and I've never used it before, so I thought this would be gorgeous. My goal is to have a very pretty trinket tray with the butterfly tattoo, temporary tattoo in the middle, and then I'm going to use these beautiful semi-precious stones from Harry and Wilma, and these are emerald, to go around the edges and make a really beautiful rim to our trinket tray. So the plan for this part is to mix up some beautiful clear river art resin deep pour, which is a 2-to-1 epoxy resin, and I'm going to drizzle a teeny little bit around the edges, and then I'm going to mix some with these little chips and then put them into the edges, hopefully neatly. That is my goal. I was very happy to do a similar awareness collaboration last year, and I learnt so much about lupus. It gave me a whole new awareness, and I really do mean that it is a privilege to be able to share some information. So every day there's millions of people around the world living with lupus. It's a condition that's often invisible, it's misunderstood, and it's very unpredictable. And I know that May, in North America at least, is the Lupus Awareness Month, and the idea is to try and shine a light onto this complex autoimmune disease to support those who are affected and to spread hope through understanding. So you might be wondering, well, what is lupus? Well, it's a chronic autoimmune disease, and so that means that our immune system, which normally protects you from infections, mistakenly attacks the body's own healthy tissues. Can you imagine that? Your own body attacking your healthy tissue. And so it can affect the skin, your joints, kidneys, brain, heart, and lungs. It can affect virtually any organ system. Sometimes it's called the great imitator because the symptoms can mimic other illnesses, and often diagnosis can be difficult and frustrating. But the idea of trying to raise awareness about lupus is to help shorten the path from symptoms to diagnosis to really help people. So the thing that stuck with me the most when I learnt about this originally was how heavily weighted this is towards women. Around 90% of all people diagnosed are women. And they're most often between the ages of 15 and 45. And it's also much more common and severe in people who have African, Asian, Hispanic, and Indigenous descent. So lots of things can play a role in developing lupus, including genetics, hormones, even environmental triggers like infections, sunlight, and stress. So a lot of things can contribute to this. The symptoms do vary wildly, and look, any one of these on its own would be enough for a normal healthy person to wonder what on earth was happening to them. But to have multiple of these, so you can feel very fatigued, you can have joint pain, you can have skin rashes, especially a butterfly shaped rash across the cheeks. You can have fever, chest pain and hair loss. So some people have fairly mild symptoms and others face life-threatening complications like kidney failure or cardiovascular disease. So when someone is living with lupus, it's never just a straightforward path. There are always going to be flare-up periods, symptoms will worsen, they'll go into remission, and it's a roller coaster, and it affects not just the person's body, but also their mental health, their relationships, and daily life. It's very interesting that it's not easy to diagnose because there's no single test, and there often has to be just a whole combination of blood tests, tracking different symptoms, looking at medical history. But the earlier people can get diagnosed, the better they have the chance of not having organ damage. So there are also some medications, not a lot, less than a handful, that can help, but they mainly work on inflammation and prevent flares. But as time goes by, there are newer treatments and therapies appearing, and over time, hopefully, they will become part of the frontline treatment of people with lupus. Also, people with lupus often have to make quite dramatic lifestyle changes. They have to make sure they get a lot of rest. They have to constantly be protecting their skin from the sun. They have to try and reduce stress in their life and eat well. So it's a constant. It's with them all day, every day. It's a lot to think about, isn't it? Okay, so just back to the crafting for a quick minute. So I've finished doing the edges of these 3 pieces with the little amethyst chips, and I've cleaned up the molds as much as I can. And because I did have some excess, I'm going to use these little oval molds, and I'm going to pop a little bit of the chips in opposite sort of edges. I think they'll look quite pretty. And then I'm going to also put clear resin in the base of those. And the idea here is that this clear resin will provide a nice glossy finish and a barrier for the temporary tattoos when I lay those down. After around 24 hours, these have cured, and I was able to also use some of the additional clear resin in some more little display stands there. You might be wondering if I'm particularly messy, but in an organised way. If you see the little clear dots along the bottom, this is something I do. Have you ever, please say yes, touched a piece that you've made to see if it's cured and found that it's sticky and thought to yourself, why did I do that? And I've done it so many times that it made me question my sanity. So now what I do is I just make sure with whatever resin I'm using, I put a couple of little dots somewhere on my workspace, and I can touch those instead of the actual pieces that I'm trying to let cure. Oh. Anyway, please tell me in the comments if you do that too, because, you know, it'd be awful if I'm the only one. Anyway, so with these temporary tattoos, I have just trimmed them so that they fit into each of the pieces, and then I've removed the clear layer And now I am sticking them down, and I'm going to gently dampen the backs of them with water. And I'm going to do that until you'll start seeing the image of the tattoo coming through the paper. And then all of a sudden, maybe after 20 to 30 seconds, you'll just feel a little shift. And that's telling you that the temporary tattoo image has been released, and you can then remove that backing sheet. So far, I'm really happy with how these are turning out, and all I need to do now is to make sure they can completely dry. I'm using a piece of paper towel initially just to go over and make sure that I get any excess moisture off them, and then I just sit them to dry completely for a short period of time. And now it's time to start getting purple. And this is exciting. I love the colour purple, and I'm actually think it's lovely that that's the lupus colour. I think that it is very eye-catching, and yeah. So purple is the official colour of Lupus Awareness because it symbolises courage, strength and hope, which are qualities that everyone battling lupus embody. And the butterfly, of course, is a very powerful symbol for lupus, and that's because of that distinctive butterfly-shaped rash I mentioned before that can go across their cheeks and nose. But also, I think the butterfly represents transformation, fragility, and resilience, which mirrors the journey of those living with lupus. I'm going to just mix up lots and lots of pots of purple. I'm going to mix everything from the palest shades of lavender or lilac right through to a very dark, dramatic purple. Now, none of the colours that I'm using are really ones that I can tell you because they're no name, apart from the Pearlex powder in Reflex Violet. And I'm also adding in, for my palest mix, just some cream mica powder. So you'll see me putting in all sorts of glitters and dusts and things like that. I just want to end up with 4 or 5 really contrasting colours. Now I need this because I don't want the tattoos to look, if I had my way, this would all be done in the most violet of purples, my favourite purple. But those temporary tattoos would not show through effectively, so I need to keep that in mind. And that's why I've got that really pale mixture, and that is going to be hopefully behind the pieces that are lighter so that they stand out. So fingers crossed. While I'm doing that, I thought I'd just share with you some really sobering facts about the prevalence of lupus. In America, for example, they think there's around 1.5 million people who have lupus, and that is just an incredible amount of people, isn't it? And again, it's 2 to 3 times more common in people in the USA that are of African, Hispanic, Asian and Indigenous descent, and that's compared to the normal, white population. And African Americans in particular are 3 times more likely to develop lupus, and they often have more severe symptoms or even complications. In the United Kingdom, it's thought that over 70,000 people may be living with lupus today, and exactly the same, it is far more common and associated with higher mortality in Black and Indigenous populations compared to white populations. And in Australia, my own country, we believe there's at least 20,000 Australians currently living with lupus, and our Aboriginal Australians, our Indigenous population, First Australians, have far more prevalent and severe cases of lupus. So it's really heartbreaking that those statistics exist. And of course, all three of those countries have the same issue about the prevalence being women. So 90% women, which is, yeah, if I said it's unfair, it sounds, it's can't say enough, can it? Anyway, okay, so back to our makes. So time now to start adding the resin in and layering it and swirling it and doing all the wonderful things. And this was so much fun. I'm trying, as mentioned, to put the lighter colours over the areas of the tattoos that I think are lighter themselves, so that they will show up better. And then I'm just playing with all the little pots of resin, really, just popping little bits here and there. I started off, putting some lines, and then I do swirls and varying between glitters and just the more luster micas. And yeah, it was great fun. Resin, as it's curing, so it will heat up in an exothermic reaction, and as it's curing it will shrink in and move. There's no way of controlling what it's going to look like at the end, but I'm hoping that I will get some really pretty blends of different purples. So everything, as I said, from that palest of lavenders, then into those more vibrant, darker purples. Yeah, this was so much fun. I've got a grin on my face just watching as I'm doing the voiceover. So when I've finished the 4 flat pieces, that is the trinket tray and the 3 little oval pieces, I'm then going to move on to the 3-dimensional items, so the little conch shell and the little trinket jar. And I'm going to have to do those a little bit differently. It's always trickier to do a 3D shape, I guess, from the point of view of controlling the resin flow. But I'm going to do the best I can. So I'm going to pour some in the middle of each mould and let that pour down, and then add the next piece, and so on and so forth. Not quite a dirty pour, but just adding in all the different layers. Oh, I'm loving how this looks at the moment. It's almost got a purple galaxy theme going on too, which is beautiful. For once, I didn't actually estimate the correct amount of resin either. So, as it was very late at night when I was doing this part, I decided rather than mixing up some more resin, I would let this get to a gel state, and then in the morning I will go ahead and mix up a little bit more and top up the pieces. So that's what you'll see me doing. And yeah, look, as I said, these colours, it's just magical. Purples, there are so many different shades of purple, aren't there? And it's also so interesting when you see this. This is the next day in different light, how they look. Just a lot sort of more plummy. Anyway, I'm just going to fast forward through this section because it's just topping up each of the pieces and making sure they're up to the level of the moulds. I did do a little bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul, as the saying goes, and a little bit of swirling around just because I could, and I love it. But that was it. I'm so excited to demold these. The time could not come soon enough for me. So first of all, I'm going to have a look at the 3 little oval pieces that I made, and I think they look super pretty. They have got the most gorgeous shine and sheen to them, and I'm really happy with the tattoos. This middle one, I think I could have put more centrally, but I'm not going to worry about that. I think that it still looks really lovely, and I'm loving all the different blends of purple and the variations between just the mica powders, which give not a matte but more of just a luster, and then the glitters. They just blend in beautifully. So I'm really excited now to have a look at the bigger pieces. And so this little pot, I could not stop looking at it. That rim with those beautiful little chips, amethyst chips, it just looks like a faux purple tortoiseshell sort of a look. It is so pretty. Oh, so this is the first time I've ever had a mold like this one, this little conch shell. So I really don't know what to expect. And again, I am loving it. I just think that combination of the chips around the top and then a little bit of sort of translucent, and then the lighter colours, and then all the purple blends. I just think it's so sweet and would be just so pretty to pop little rings in and things like that. And now our trinket tray, and here we go. And look, just so pretty. I'm so happy with the colours. I think that this encapsulates the colour and the images of the Lupus Awareness, and my dearest hope is that I can donate this to our local lupus support group, in the hope that it can help raise some funds for providing care and services to people living with lupus in Tasmania. And I'm just, very, very happy with these, loving the purple, and grateful to be part of this collaboration. I'm so grateful for you watching, and I'm really encourage you to check in the links in the description box if you would like more information about lupus. I'll put as much as I can in there to help you. And thank you again to lovely Julia from Julia's Crafting Chaos, and June from June's House of Crafts for organising this collaboration. It is an absolute privilege to be able to spread the word about lupus awareness. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.